I'm gonna bring out the next panel, and I'd love to bring out Raymond and Gabe, and we're gonna bring the slide up so I can remember the other two amazing panel members. Come on out and take a seat, my friends. Raymond and I go way back. Raymond and I have been friends for over 10 years.
What's up?
And Raymond is one of the smartest people I've ever met. Really has a keen insight in terms of what's happening now, where things are headed. So good to have you be a part of this panel. And Gabe, just finding stage after stage after stage to drop your young Gen Z wisdom. Edwin and Glenn,
yes, sir.
So glad to have both of you here with us. Take it away, and everybody enjoy.
Awesome. First of all, big shout out to Jody, Cameron, and Ian for putting this together. Year 4, I know Jody said that his big dream was to have 100,000 people here. And if you've been out and around New York like we all have been, I'm sure you might agree that NFT.NYC is the magnet that is bringing the NFT movement to New York. And there may be 100,000 people here just specifically in community. Today, we're going to talk about the future utility of NFTs. It's extremely important to all of us that are on stage here, and I think to each of you, this is going to be one of the most impactful technologies on not just you, but your children and future generations. The format for our panel that we discussed, we're going to talk a little bit about the present utility, just to tee up what we think it's going to be like in the future, and we're just going to have an open discussion, ask each other questions. And if anyone even has a burning question out there at some point, just put your hand up, ask it. This should be conversational. This is town hall, for Christ's sake. I mean, this is one of the most legendary buildings probably in America, and it was built on discourse. So let's kick off this discourse. I'll ask the first question, and then we'll just move right into it, all right? So for everyone on this panel, just kick off this discussion, thinking about what's the most fun or the most engaging utility that you currently experience in the NFT space, just current time?
I'll go first. So my name's Glenn Shaw, and I'm a little bit jealous of everyone on this panel because they all somehow still have their voices after partying for 4 days. But for me, I think you guys would all agree that some of the recent derivatives and for goblins and the free mint collections have been really entertaining. Personally, I was at VCon and I found out about goblins, got in them pretty early, and I got all the enjoyment out of listening to their Twitter spaces, looking at the way that they built their website. And for me, it wasn't really just like something that I invested in for a quick flip. It was something that I really enjoyed, and it brought like a different layer to the community style, right? No Discord, low follower count, free mint, higher royalty, and yeah, just an undoxed team, which was not by the book when they launched.
Yeah, I'll take the next one. Yeah, so I think like the utility right now, the most for NFT should be something like more like a privilege or a membership, right? So you can join a community, you can create something with the community, and when the chance comes, that you can try to build something for the community. So I think right now that we are just at the beginning of the utility of NFTs, but surely there will be a lot in the future.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that as well. In my opinion, what I think the coolest utilities are at the moment, I think that the coolest utilities really haven't been fully explored yet. I think that there's a lot that is going to continue to grow and see. The interactability within your digital assets, the ability to interact with, music, NFTs, all those different industries within the NFT space that it's really attached to, like to be able to set up and shuffle a playlist and be able to actually listen to your music NFTs and to be able to do all those different things, and as well as be able to enjoy and listen them, but then also be able to enjoy if there's any IRL or any of those other different things is, I think, an amazing thing, but yeah.
Yeah, it seems like we're at that time where these NFTs are like the building blocks of our future lives, our future selves. When you think about the utility that allows us to, when something is stored on-chain, like not talking about something that's linking off to a Google Drive somewhere, but truly like storing metadata and storing things on-chain and connecting it to my wallet and my ENS domain. I feel like these are those building blocks for me walking around with the future utility of these digital assets that are non-fungible, right? They're unique in the universe unto themselves, and they're owned by me. They're part of my life. They're part of what's making me up. And so when I collect art, it's fun to get into the PFP thing, to degen out. I mean, I have a whole burner Twitter, just specifically for being able to degen. But when you really look at the current utility, I think that we're building that nobody sees is the building blocks that are going to be the railways, that are going to carry us from San Francisco to New York without being on a horse and buggy. So that's what I get excited about. So when we're looking at the current state of NFTs, the current state of utility, right? A lot of it is it's a free pass, it's a free mint, it's another thing in my wallet, it's a derivative, it's some serum, it's now gets you into a party. There are some tools to get into parties because you have NFTs. But now let's talk about where this technology and where this really lies. And when we look at when I look at my 10-year-old daughter right now, I bought her first name and last name .eth because I see her as she's a teenager even, in the next 6 or 7 years, owning her information, owning her data, and not just giving it away. Twitter was built by people giving their social influence away. And this new decentralized economy that we're building here, hopefully, a lot of us in here believe in this, she's going to be empowered by that wallet, that connection, and this blockchain called Ethereum to truly own and transact, right? So what gets you excited about the future utility of NFTs? Or non-fungible, let's call them non-fungible tokens, NFTs, whatever you want to say.
Yeah, so with NFTs, I mean, traditionally, a lot of people just think straight of PFPs because that's the most popular form of medium right now. But for me, I really believe that mass adoption comes after government institutions hop on board. The way that Seagate or Western Digital make more of their money from businesses than from consumers. Right, they have terabytes of storage at Costco, but they service all of the computers that are powering a lot of our American infrastructure. So what I want to see in the future of the utility of NFTs, and I think utilities are very subjective. Some memberships may be worth more to you than to me, right? But I want to see something that provides convenience and efficiency in our day-to-day lives, whether we like it or not. So it would be really cool to see, for example, use of proceeds when I donate to a charity, where that money actually goes, making sure that all of it is actually going to where I want it to go, right? Some places in China, for example, you have homeless people come up to you with QR codes asking for money, and you scan it to donate money. And I think throughout COVID, it's become more risky and inconvenient to help the homeless, right? So that's one of the issues that is arising with a society moving out of cash, right? I don't want to roll down my window, I might get sick, right? So we don't really have something like that here, but I think that, if we create some sort of infrastructure where I know I can scan this guy's QR code, give him money, and I know it's not going to be spent on drugs because that QR code is linked to a wallet that is connected to an ecosystem of stores that only sells cheap, healthy food for them. I think that's something that's very valuable that can help our economy move forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I would like to say, one thing that really excites me for sure is I think that down the line with what this Web3 world has really pushed forward is, respect of the consumer, respect the creator, respect the data, the privacy, and all that stuff. And I think what's going to be really interesting is possibly some form of tokenization of your data and your information as well is incredibly interesting. And I feel as if once you take ownership over that, then perhaps you can monetize data about you, choose certain aspects of you basically, and then choose to keep things certain private and choose to perhaps monetize certain parts, which I find quite fascinating. But yeah.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is that most valuable assets in your real life are non-fungible, right? Your memories with your family, with your friends, your keys to your house, or even we are driving the same model of car. These are two different cars, right? So I would not switch my car with you, even they are the same model, same engine, right? Because those things are non-fungible. So I think that the future of the NFT should be something like linked to your current life. For example, imagine if we are all driving Tesla right now, so basically our key is a token, right? So non-fungible ones, because my key cannot open your Tesla, right? But if we want to share this thing with our friends, with our family, or even I want to do a renting business, actually this NFT on chain could just replace all the car renting industry right now. So imagine that you can do this to your car, that's a rent a car. If you're doing this to your house, that's Airbnb, right? So the most valuable things in our lifetime is non-fungible things. So I truly believe that the future of the NFT could be enormous. Yeah.
I think that, to just add to what you've all said here, this problem that just racks my brain continually, because we get ahead of ourselves. We think of these beautiful things in the future, right? We've been doing that since 2019 at this conference, when it was just 400 people and artists talking about how art could now live on chain, right? And then it began to be interacted with. What I think needs to happen to get us there is there has to be trust. And we have to go back, learn from those who built the first version of the connected web, and create a common language that we can speak amongst ourselves that creates those rails, right? Like right now we have transparency. We can see what wallets do what and what transacts. In fact, it's really kind of odd, right, as collectors of these objects, to say like, that guy really has this much Ethereum in his wallet, or be able to track and trace. So they just rugged us and dumped their money. And there's that transparency. There's proof of ownership and exchange, right? And we believe that there's immutability, but that hasn't been proven yet, because we can lose data when things are burned and recreated. But if we can solve the immutability issue, then we can build for infinity. So these stories are continually unfolding, like this building that we're in. Town Hall has a history, right? Its history is being continued by every single person here, by us being on stage and us having this talk about the future utility of sharing my Tesla, with my family. It could be happening, and that you could be the first person to have ever said it here at Town Hall, right? And that really becomes a thing. But until we can have that, we can't lose the data, and we must be speaking the same language. We have to speak the same language and unify ourselves, unify this movement, and just agree on some terms and agree on how we're going to operate. And might offend some people and not offend others, but then we can begin to decentralize the power within a system. But first, we must centralize our thought process, and agree on terms so that we can empower people in communities. Because I see a future of NFTs where we have social value is created, informational value. I was talking to a woman last night, she brought up emotional value. That's currently not even calculated. Like you can't calculate it, you can't quantify it, you can say that was an amazing moment, but it's not kept. And it becomes ephemeral. We have 10,000 photos in our phones, but which ones matter? Which ones are the ones that captured a specific moment? What are the moments that were behind why you took that image? So before we can have that world, we need to fix the rails, and we can't be siloed. So I see a rail fixing. I see the railroads being built between San Francisco and New York, opening up the beef industry in the Midwest, so they could get their goods out faster and further. And everyone working together in really this larger system and larger ecosystem. And hopefully it's not mandated. Hopefully it's not the government that's controlling it. Hopefully it's not, I don't want to say any names, but you think of all the names that could be there. In fact, you know what? I'll say this. It won't work if it is one of those names, because it cannot be Elon Musk's system. It cannot be Mark Zuckerberg's system. It has to be our system in order for it to work.
Yeah, I want to put another fun fact added to your point. So actually, I think everybody, you are already familiar with the internet, right? So you already encounter some error code called 404, which is server unavailable. But thinking that you don't even know what is error code 402, which is payment required. So this is not a new idea, right? So at the beginning of the internet, back to 1990s, that people already thinking, hey, if I can use the internet to do the payments, to do the value transfer, that could be a perfect thing. But why? Still until after 30 years, until today, right? We are still using credit cards. That is not natively on the internet. That is binding with our banking system, which is Web 1 or even before the Web 0, right? So what is the problem there, right? So what we are doing here is that we are not trying to revolute the whole society or building a new, whole new system against the current system. We are just trying to realize those smart ideas, those great ideas that can lower our cost and building more efficient things. But before, we cannot realize because there's no blockchain, because there's no NFT, because there's no fungible token. So although the internet is already there, imagine that you don't have a credit card right now. How can you take Uber? How can you rent a house with an Airbnb if you don't have a credit card, right? So the whole system performance is already bounded by the lowest performers, right? So what we are doing right now is that we can put down more spice to the system, that we can accelerate the whole system, and we can we can lower the cost, and we can speed up the efficiency.
Yeah, no, I like the point that you made about Uber because Uber only came around like long after the iPhone came around, and the only way that Uber was able to build its business was because Apple was like, hey, let's put this accelerometer, let's put this GPS, we can now use maps. So essentially, your layer ones are kind of like your iPhone, your layer twos are kind of like your apps on top of that, and like Uber's now a $1 billion business built on top of the phone, essentially, and there's a lot of other examples out of that. But also adding on to what you were saying earlier about verification, I think Vitalik has come out and spoken about things called soul-bound tokens, essentially tokens that can't be destroyed, something that's very personal, like identification. And I think that's something where like we will be able to see use in the future. So for example, like your college student ID, right? That might be pegged to your diploma, to your transcript, so that when you do job applications, people know that your resume isn't faked. Or when you're doing college applications, colleges can bid on you to give you a scholarship, for example. So I think digital identity and personal verification is something that's going to be very valuable in the future.
Yeah, so I'd like to add to your, Rails comment of building the Rails. I think that it's pretty critical. We're at a pretty interesting critical situation with UI, UX of the experience of interacting with digital assets. I think we're at a pretty interesting critical, pivot to be able to interact with them, to be able to do all these different things, and small things such as, so when you have a wallet and you have a public address, you just get a million things airdropped into your wallet, like mechanisms to prevent things of that nature and all that sort of stuff. And there's one standard in particular that does that. It's called the ERC 725, and basically written by Fabian Vogelsteller, which has something. It's a different type of wallet interface, and basically you can deny certain transactions or accept them. And so thinking about how are we going to go about these, they seem very simple and small hurdles, but are incredibly, incredibly important, in my opinion, such as the move to the mobile experience with your digital assets. That is a big deal. And so when people are like, what is one of the big things, in your opinion, mainstream adoption to fully take place? It is a streamlined, amazing UI, UX through the phone is super critical, in my opinion, because the best experience is on your computer. That's awesome. But what's the number one thing, people my age have on them at all times? Their phone. And so to be able to interact with your digital assets intelligently and enjoy that experience, is the move to mobile is going to be a pretty big and awesome feat. And one of the companies that I think that's done an amazing job with this is STEPN. STEPN has done a fantastic job. Amazing mobile experience. But I think that NFTs have crossed the first chasm, and now there's a couple more. UI, UX is definitely a chasm that they're going to have to cross. But I definitely feel as if the mobile experience is definitely going to be an awesome challenge to take on. And that's what I'm definitely taking into account a lot at Tension Live, working in product and all that stuff, is taking into account you have to have an amazing mobile experience. Otherwise, I feel as if long term, you might have a couple of problems. But yeah, that's what I...
Awesome. Anyone have any questions out here before we wrap up? Yes. 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 So his question was, why buy your first and last name .eth? So the first wave of buying RaymondSt.Martin.com I could make this place where you could see photos of me, you could see photos of my family, but there's no real ownership over that, right? There's no, like we're talking about these soul tokens. Having a soul token in my wallet that is RaymondSt.Martin.eth allows people to understand that that's where Raymond's identity is, and if I'm connecting to somebody through my wallet, they know who I am. And so owning your name, owning your own name on ENS has been a discussion that we've had for the last probably 2 days with everybody I speak to. And actually my friend launched her first NFT last night, and I had her buy her name .eth and then connect that as her art account. So there are many, many reasons to buy your first and last name. .eth. Anyone else want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that the ENS has always been, near the top ranked OpenSea volumes in terms of volume traded, but also I think that one of my friends is one of the biggest ENS holders, and he's been telling me how ENS has barely taken a hit throughout this whole crypto winter, and it shows that the community behind it is really strong. And I know we got to wrap up, so I'll let you guys.
Yeah. I'm going to say one quick thing really quick. The reason why I did as well, it's because I know I wasn't born when the internet started, but it obviously wasn't pretty. And obviously the experience right now for the user isn't amazing, but it's one way to perhaps personalize your wallet, attach your ENS domain. You can name it anything.eth. Mine is just Viggers.eth. I have a couple other wallets, but you'll be able to eventually do a lot more personalization within the wallet and all that stuff in the future. I feel as if technology progresses and all that thing, but and it's like if you want someone to send you digital assets, it's like you don't have to copy and paste that. Just type in Viggers.eth and you're good. But I think it's an awesome way to start personalizing your digital self.
Yeah, and I think another point is that we all know that Ethereum is permissionless, right? So it doesn't necessarily that you only have just one address or one ENS domain, right? So actually you can create 2 with your names on, 5 with your names off, right? So it's just like you can walk in a shop, take out all your cash you have, say, hey, I'm this rich, so I can get a lot of things. But you can just simply take out your credit card, right? Say, I can pay for this one, but I don't want to reveal how rich I am, something like that. So you can just connect it to. Yeah, cool.
They're crying out in agreement. That's what's happening. Let's give a hand to Edwin, Glenn, Gabe, and Raymond. Thank you so much for being a part of it.
Thank you, Ian.